What up? What up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys doing excellent and taking care of yourself. So I got to get right into it because my computer's dying, but my phone has plenty of power. So I want to talk to you about a species that is older than most and is one of two, as described by Randy Kramer, of the most sophisticated species that he's ever met of all time. The Trogdobogdians. These guys were evolved from a tree frog, and he's going to talk about it for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to talk about, because that's all he ever gives us. I've watched all of Randy Kramer's stuff, and that's all he gives us. There's nothing on the net about it, so I got to go off like the 2 minutes he talks about it. So I'm going to let you guys listen to this, and that we will talk about it and see what these Trogdobogdians are all about, shall we? So let's check this out here. Turn up the volume.
What other technologies have you discovered that were just mind-blowing to you? It stood out compared to everything else?
So there is a species who makes spaceships out of a Dyson sphere. And for those who don't know, a Dyson sphere is essentially an engineered construct that goes around a star. So think of a star like our sun in the middle and an engineered sphere around it. That's the ship that uses the star in the middle as the engine power source and as the source of power for a directed weapon. So you're thinking about it as a ship that's bigger than Jupiter and bigger than the sun and can travel untold distances and have a directed beam weapon that's powered and focused from a star that could evaporate entire planets if need to be.
Who has access to that?
There's only one species that I'm aware of that have these. They're the Trogdobogdians. The planet is called Trogda, and the star is Bogdia.
Do you have experience with them?
I've talked to them. We've communicated. Yeah.
What kind of species are they?
They evolved from a tree frog, so they probably stand between 4.5, 5 feet tall. Their head is actually probably more than a third of their full body proportion. A gigantic head, pretty small body, big eyes. They come from a red star system, so again, very big eyes because of the lower light level. Hyper intelligent, lifespan in the millions of years. Yeah.
Very evolved beings, very conscious, it sounds.
Of the two most evolved species I've ever encountered, they are one, yes.
I'm assuming the sun goes with them wherever they
go.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. It's in the middle of the ship all the time, yeah.
Why would they develop this?
Well, my understanding was they wanted to conduct large explorations through space from galaxy to galaxy to galaxy. They wanted to have a completely self-contained ship that had everything that they could possibly ever need or require on that ship. And there are some big dangerous things out there. They wanted big firepower in case they ran into, a planet-sized destroyer of some kind, which according to them they have run into. So they're not hostile, nor are they threatening. They just wanted the biggest ship to travel in, the farthest distances that could take the longest amount of time, and be completely and ready and prepared to defend themselves against anything and everything. Let me put it this way. They wanted to go in space with the highest probability of their success and the lowest probability of any failure whatsoever. So they built the biggest ship with the biggest engine with the biggest weapon that they could.
Have you seen schematics of this or on a computer or something?
I've never seen schematics, but in a psionic telepathic conversation with this species, it was downloaded a bunch of images, and what I would say was a progressive series of images of the construction. So, like where they sort of start with the pieces of the frame, how they put it together, and, what it takes to get to the finished product. And I remember saying to this being, I was like, wow, that's incredible. I mean, it must take a really long time to build one of those. And he was like, only about 186,000 of your years. Like the notion that a species could be that focused on a goal for that long of amount of time and be that dedicated to the end result was just mind-blowing to me to Yeah, it'll only take us, we'll be done in less than 200,000 years. No biggie.
How did they get around?
They build the Dyson sphere around the star wherever the star is. And
So that's kind of like the end of it. But yeah, could you imagine? I mean, like what's really interesting right there at the end is that he says basically this species took 186,000 years to create it, and they're in generation after generation after generation had to work towards creating this device. Could you imagine a human species trying to create something like that? It would never happen. We'd have so much bureaucratic tape that we would never get there. But what's beautiful about this is that these entities evolved from a tree frog. And so many of us love frogs and love tree frogs. They're so colorful and so beautiful that it's interesting to see that they could create something so large, the largest ship you could imagine, around a sun, a ship the size of Jupiter, bigger than the sun, and then create a ship around it. I mean, the sheer amount of time, 186,000 years. So you're creating piece after piece after piece, and mining the ores or creating the ores to create this ship. 186,000 years. How long has man even been? Man. How long has Homo sapien been around? I don't even know. I think is it 300,000 years or something like that. I don't even know if that's even accurate. Let's see if we can find out. So 300,000 years. So basically, for the vast majority, 2/3 of the amount of time we've been around, they've been creating a ship to travel the stars. And why did they create it? Because they wanted to travel as far as possible with the most success, with the least amount of failure, with weaponry. And they're using the sun as an energy source. What's so fascinating about that is that Stargate Universe, if you ever saw that show, the way that ship was powered was by the sun, so by a star. So once you got into a star system, the ship would automatically divert into the sun and regain. It would drop these like panels, these solar panels, and then collect all of the power while inside of the sun, billions of degrees hot, and this thing wouldn't melt, and then they would leave, and it wouldn't kill the people on the inside either, and it would have enough power to get to the next star system. What's mind-blowing is that made sense, didn't it? I wonder if they didn't get that information from the Trogdobogdians, or at least from Randy Kramer, who was talking about it. It makes sense, on just a sheer consciousness level. Yeah, you could have, nuclear power and things like that, but you still have to have the nuclear, the uranium, the plutonium, and all that to create the power source. So if you had a sun inside of you, you're talking about an unlimited power source that's going to last for quite a long time. Now, you wouldn't want to have it around when it blows up, but you would think that they would be able to make the ship to extract the sun out of the ship, have enough power to get to the next sun that was the right size, and then capture that sun and take it out. And they'd have all the technology to know how long that sun was going to survive before it exploded, and then release it and grab another one. Now, these tree frogs, these Trogdobogdians, they wanted to examine the universe. They wanted to go grab as much information as they could about the universe, because we're all trying to gather information about, what happens next, and how we can perfect ourselves and what we can do to make our species better, live longer. Isn't it fascinating that a species that's clearly been around a really, really, really long time could be curious about the solar system, universes, galaxies, so on and so forth? Isn't it fascinating? Because you would think, well, they already know enough. They got to know enough. They got to know that there's reincarnation. They got to know more than just reincarnation. What happens after reincarnation? How do we become evolved? How do we reach nirvana or heaven or whatever the case is? How do we get better and stronger spiritually? And what does it take to gain that? And then what happens after that? It's interesting that these species are still interested in the physical more than the metaphysical. Because see, in my mind, I'm already thinking metaphysical. I'm thinking next incarnation. I'm thinking incarnation after that. I'm thinking, what do I have to do to bring myself up to be a better spiritual entity? Because that's all we really are, right? And these beings, according to Randy Kramer, can live millions of years. That's just how much they've developed. And these tree frogs or turtles or whatever the case is, they tend to live a hell of a lot longer than humans. You think about like a sea turtle that can live to like 200 and maybe even 300, and humans that are like stuck at 70 or less years old, especially us males. So it's interesting. Why would these species be so interested in the physical still? Is there some kind of like war that we're waging still on the souls that we have inside these bodies? Remember what Bob Lazar said. Bob Lazar said that aliens, at least the aliens that have been in contact with Earth, probably the Greys, see our bodies as containers for souls, and that the soul ages as a fine wine. Well, if that's the case, and we're just meat puppets and have a soul inside of us, a species that's been around millions of years and can create a ship that can be powered by the sun should have the knowledge to not only help us out, but help themselves out, and maybe not have to travel the universe. Keep this in mind too. Here's another thought, is that we as human species already have psychic spies that can travel in time to other planets. For example, Joseph McMoneagle, who was tasked, and can be read in the CIA reading room in 1984, with the task of going to 1 million years ago BC to Mars and talk to the Martians that were there, and talk to the fact that they were having their planet be destroyed by some environmental issue, is what they say, quote unquote. Other people will say it was a war. Randy Kramer will say it was a war, and it caused the destruction of Mars. But basically, destruction, I mean like the atmospheric destruction, which would cause a lot of problems for anybody living there, right? And if we have remote viewing capabilities, wouldn't you think these species that are so much older than us would already have remote viewing capabilities and be able to remote view across the universe and see whatever they needed to see, instead of having to create and spend 186,000 years to create this ship? Not that I'm saying it's a bad thing. I think it's super cool. And I'm thinking of ideas of how you could create it and stuff, and how badass it could look. It looked big old long black spear, right? Some badass thing. And in the middle, you could see through some windows the beautiful sun that's just yellow and glowing and just powerful. And in the back, you got like these red signals in the back for whatever species they are. And inside, they could have a biosphere of trees and beautiful forest scenery with rivers, and they could have huge food courts, or just huge biospheres of just food, and waterfalls and rivers and lakes and oceans inside of the ship. 186,000 years, you can make whatever you want in there. It could be paradise. You could have islands, and you could have a whole planet inside of there, multiple planets inside of there, if you already have a sun in there. Think about that for a second. We've talked about the fact that Victoria, who's on the Cosmic Disclosure Show, talked about the fact that that's what she saw when she was interacting with the not the Intergalactic Federation, but basically that, similar to that, the Intergalactic Federation, where she saw inside there was a biosphere of multiple levels of different trees and rivers and things like that people could live in, multiple cities. So the beautiful innovation and creation of creating a ship like that would be the capability of the entire population to use their artistic capabilities, their engineering capabilities, mathematic capabilities, their horticulture capabilities to create a brand new world or multiple worlds inside of a ship, while they go and visit other planets and find out more information about beautiful other creatures on other planets, the development of those people on other planets, and find out the intellectual capabilities, the spiritual capabilities of other peoples on those planets. And maybe, just maybe, they're trying to save their corner of the galaxy, or their corner of the universe, because there are other bad guys out there, and if they need to, They have this 186,000 year ship that could live or exist forever, basically, and take out the bad guys if there are bad guys. So maybe that's a mission that they have as well. Not only just to find out the beautiful nature of all these other planets and cultures, but also to maybe save them or save their own planet if need be. Just something to think about. I mean, tree frogs are beautiful in my mind, and sea turtles and these ancient creatures that have been around for untold amount of time. The beautiful fact is that they're out there trying to seek new information for themselves and possibly to save other cultures as they're out exploring. So if you're ever out for a walk in the forest and you come across an alien, don't think it's always going to be negative. Think about it. Could be a Trogdobogdian just trying to learn a little bit more about Earthlings and gather more information. And if you're nice, maybe they'll show you inside of their ship. Maybe they'll let you stay. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Thanks for staying, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I know we could talk for hours about this, but I'll keep it short, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more next time. So take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams, and as always, continue to question the universe around you. Until next time, guys, take care. And Lockdown Universe out. Please go like, follow, share, subscribe, and thanks to everybody commenting. I'm getting back to everybody that comments. I really appreciate the folks that say they enjoy the show, and that makes my heart smile and makes me want to record more. So I'll keep doing the best that I can do and keep bringing you as many as I can. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. Peace, love, and light. Lockdown Universe out.